Captain Jake Morrison felt his heart beating fast as he looked at the massive alien station through the window of his spaceship. The Earth's Pride had traveled for 3 months to reach this place. This was the moment humanity had dreamed about for hundreds of years. First contact with alien life. The station was huge. It looked like a crystal city floating in space. Blue and green lights moved across its surface like living things. Ships of strange shapes came and went from the station. Some looked like giant insects. Others were made of what seemed like flowing water. Jake had never seen anything so beautiful and scary at the same time. "Captain, we're getting a message from the station," said Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez from her seat at the communications desk. Her voice was tight with excitement and fear. "Put it on the main screen," Jake said. He straightened his uniform and tried to look calm. Behind him, the rest of his crew waited quietly. They all knew this moment would change everything. The screen flickered and showed a room filled with strange creatures. In the center stood a being that looked like it was made of living crystal. Its body was tall and thin, with sharp angles that caught the light. Next to it was something that looked like a giant ant, but it walked on 2 legs and had 4 arms. "Greetings, beings of Earth," the crystal creature said. Its voice was cold and had no emotion. "I am Zarthik of the Zephyrian Council. This is Hive Speaker Clix Tar of the Collective. We represent the Galactic Coalition." Jake stepped forward. "I am Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Force. On behalf of all humanity, I welcome this historic meeting. We come in peace and friendship." The crystal being's head tilted slightly. "We have studied your species for many cycles. We have watched your planet. We have seen your wars, your destruction, your violence. We have made our decision." Something cold settled in Jake's stomach. This was not how he had imagined first contact would go. "What decision?" "Humanity is not suitable for membership in the Galactic Coalition," Zarthik said. "Your species is too violent, too unstable, too dangerous. You destroy your own planet. You kill your own kind. You cannot be trusted with the knowledge and power that comes with galactic civilization." The words hit Jake like a physical blow. He heard gasps from his crew behind him. "Wait, please. Let us explain. Humanity has changed. We've learned from our mistakes. We've united as a species. We've stopped the wars." The giant ant-like creature stepped forward. When it spoke, its voice sounded like many voices talking at once. "The Collective has analyzed your species' behavior patterns. Violence is encoded in your genetic structure. Aggression is part of your nature. You cannot change what you are." "But we have changed," Jake said, his voice getting louder. "We've had peace on Earth for 50 years. We've worked together to explore space. We've solved hunger and disease. We've learned to take care of our planet." "Temporary changes," Zarthik said. "Your species' nature will reassert itself. It always does. The Coalition has seen this pattern before in other species. You will return to your violent ways." Jake felt anger rising in his chest, but he forced himself to stay calm. "What does this mean for us? For Earth?" "Quarantine," the crystal being said simply. "Your species will be confined to your solar system. A barrier will be placed around your star system. Any human vessel that attempts to leave will be destroyed. There will be no trade, no communication, no contact with galactic civilization." "You can't do this," Jake said. "We have rights. We have the right to explore, to learn, to grow." "You have no rights beyond those we choose to grant," Zarthik replied. "The Coalition controls this galaxy. We decide who is worthy of membership and who is not. Humanity is not worthy." The screen flickered and went dark. Jake stared at the blank screen, unable to believe what had just happened. Behind him, his crew sat in shocked silence. "Sir," Amy said quietly, "I'm receiving a data transmission. It's the quarantine boundaries. They're broadcasting warning beacons along a 50-light-year radius around Earth. Jake closed his eyes and took a deep breath. When he opened them, his face was hard. Send a message to Earth. Tell them what happened. Tell them we're coming home. The flight back to Earth took 3 months. During that time, Jake watched his crew struggle with what they had learned. Some cried, others got angry. A few just sat quietly, staring out at the stars that were now forbidden to them. When they reached Earth, Jake found a planet in chaos. The news of the quarantine had spread quickly. Protests filled the streets of major cities. People demanded answers from their governments. Scientists who had spent their lives dreaming of alien contact wept openly on television. Jake was called to Washington immediately. He found himself in a room with the most powerful people on Earth. President Kevin Hayes sat at the head of the table. Admiral Lisa Carter was there, along with generals and scientists from around the world. "Tell us everything," President Hayes said. Jake told them about the meeting. He described the cold rejection, the casual dismissal of humanity's worth, the threats of destruction if they tried to leave their solar system. When he finished, the room was quiet. "They think we're animals," Admiral Carter said finally. "Dangerous animals that need to be caged." "Maybe they're right," said Dr. Ben Parker, Earth's leading expert on alien life. "Maybe we are too violent. Maybe we do need to prove ourselves worthy." "Prove ourselves?" Admiral Carter's voice was sharp. "To who? To beings who judge us without even giving us a chance, who lock us in a cage and tell us it's for our own good." President Hayes had been quiet during the discussion. Now he spoke. "What are our options militarily?" Admiral Carter shook her head. "Their technology's centuries ahead of ours. Their ships are faster. Their weapons are more powerful. They have energy shields that can stop our best missiles. If we fight them, we'll lose. Then what do you suggest we do?" President Hayes asked. The room fell silent. Everyone knew the answer, but no one wanted to say it. They could accept the quarantine. They could stay trapped in their solar system forever. They could give up their dreams of exploring the galaxy, or they could fight. Jake stood up. "I've been thinking about this for 3 months," he said. "The aliens think they know us. They think we're just violent animals. But they're wrong. We're not just violent. We're survivors. We adapt. We overcome. We never give up." He looked around the room at the faces of Earth's leaders. "They want to keep us caged because they're afraid of us. They're afraid of what we might become if we're free. Maybe we should show them why." President Hayes nodded slowly. "Are you suggesting we go to war with the entire galaxy?" "I'm suggesting we refuse to be prisoners in our own solar system," Jake said. "I'm suggesting we show these aliens that humanity doesn't back down from a fight, no matter how impossible the odds." The room erupted in discussion. Some people thought Jake was crazy. Others began to see the possibilities. A debate went on for hours, but Jake could see the decision forming in President Hayes' eyes. Humanity would not go quietly into captivity. They would fight for their freedom, no matter the cost. President Kevin Hayes stood at the window of the White House, looking out at the crowds of protesters in the streets. Signs reading, "Free Earth," and "We are not prisoners," filled the plaza. The anger was growing stronger every day since the news of the quarantine had spread. "Mr. President," said his secretary, walking into the office, "the emergency session is ready to begin." Kevin nodded and walked to the Situation Room. The most important people from around the world were there, some in person and others on video screens. Their faces all showed the same thing: shock, anger, and fear. "Ladies and gentlemen," Kevin began, "we all know why we're here. The aliens have made their decision. They think we're too dangerous to be part of their galactic club. They want to lock us up in our own solar system like animals in a zoo." "Maybe we should consider their offer," said the Prime Minister of England through the video link. Maybe we should prove we can be peaceful. Show them we've changed. Prove ourselves to who? Admiral Lisa Carter spoke up from her seat at the table. To beings who judged us without even giving us a fair chance? They didn't ask to see our art, our music, our science. They just looked at our history and decided we were guilty. General Chris Davis, the head of the new Earth Defense Force, opened a folder on the table. I've been studying what we know about their technology. The news isn't good. Their ships are faster than anything we have. Their weapons can destroy our biggest ships with one shot. They have energy shields that can stop our missiles before they even get close. So we can't win? Asked the president of Brazil. In a straight fight, no, General Davis said. But humans have never been good at straight fights. We're good at finding new ways to win when the odds are against us. Kevin looked around the table. What are you thinking, General? I'm thinking about Dr. Susan Lee's work at the Nevada Research Facility, Davis said. She's been studying the alien technology fragments that Captain Morrison brought back. She thinks she might have found a weakness. The room became quiet. Everyone knew that Dr. Lee was one of the smartest people on Earth. If she had found something, it could change everything. What kind of weakness? Admiral Carter asked. She calls it quantum resonance disruption, General Davis said. She thinks their energy shields work by creating a field that stops normal matter from getting through. But if we can create weapons that vibrate at the right frequency, we might be able to get past their shields. Might, Kevin said. It's still experimental, Davis admitted. But it's our best chance. A Chinese representative spoke up. Even if these new weapons work, we still have the problem of numbers. There are billions of aliens out there. We have one planet. That's true, said Dr. Ben Parker, who had been quiet until now. But we have something they don't expect. We have the element of surprise. They think they know us, but they don't really understand what makes humans fight. Kevin felt a spark of hope. What do you mean? They think we're just violent animals, Doctor. Parker said. But they don't understand that our violence comes from our refusal to give up. When humans are backed into a corner, we don't just fight. We adapt. We find new ways to survive. We never stop trying. Admiral Carter leaned forward. Are you suggesting we actually declare war on the entire galaxy? The room fell silent. The weight of those words hung in the air like a heavy cloud. War with the galaxy. It sounded impossible, even crazy. Kevin closed his eyes and thought about his daughter, who was studying to be a scientist. She had dreamed of exploring the stars since she was a little girl. Now those dreams were being taken away by aliens who thought humans weren't good enough. Yes, Kevin said, opening his eyes. I think that's exactly what we should do. The room erupted in arguments. Some people thought it was suicide. Others began to see the possibilities. The debate went on for hours, but Kevin could see that minds were changing. Think about it, he said when the room quieted down. What's the alternative? We sit in our solar system forever, looking at the stars and knowing we can never reach them? We let our children grow up as prisoners? We accept that we're not good enough to be free. But the cost, said the German Chancellor. The number of people who will die. People are already dying, Admiral Carter said. Our best scientists are killing themselves because they can't stand the thought of never reaching the stars. Our young people are losing hope. Our whole species is being slowly destroyed by despair. Kevin stood up. I've made my decision. In 1 hour, I'm going to address the world. I'm going to tell them that Earth will not accept this quarantine. We will not be prisoners in our own solar system. If the galaxy won't accept us as equals, then we'll take our place among the stars by force. The room was quiet for a long moment. Then, one by one, the leaders began to nod. A vote was unanimous. 1 hour later, Kevin stood in front of cameras that would broadcast his message to every corner of Earth. Behind him stood Admiral Carter. General Davis, and the other leaders who had made this historic decision. My fellow humans, Kevin began, today we face the greatest challenge in our species' history. We have been judged and found wanting by beings who call themselves our superiors. They have built a cage around our solar system and told us it's for our own good. He paused, looking directly into the camera. But we are not animals to be caged. We are human beings, and we have the right to explore, to learn, to grow, to reach for the stars. That right is not theirs to take away. The president's voice grew stronger. Today, I am announcing that Earth will not accept this quarantine. We will not bow to those who would imprison us. We will not accept that we are unworthy of freedom. He took a deep breath. As of this moment, Earth is at war with the Galactic Coalition. We know the odds. We know the dangers. But we also know that freedom is worth fighting for, no matter the cost. Across the world, people stopped what they were doing to watch. In the streets, the crowds grew quiet. In homes, families gathered around their televisions. In laboratories, scientists looked up from their work. We are not doing this because we want to conquer or destroy, Kevin continued. We are doing this because we refuse to be told that we are not good enough to be free. We are doing this because we believe that all intelligent beings have the right to reach for the stars. He looked directly at the camera one more time. To the aliens who think they can keep us caged, you have made a mistake. You have underestimated the human spirit. You have forgotten that when humans are told they cannot do something, they find a way to do it anyway. The broadcast ended, and the world held its breath. Within hours, the response came from space. The alien coalition sent a message that was broadcast to every communication device on Earth. The species of Earth has chosen to resist lawful quarantine, the cold voice of Zarthik announced. This resistance will be met with appropriate force. Any human vessel that attempts to leave the solar system will be destroyed. This is your final warning. But humans had never been good at listening to warnings. In laboratories around the world, scientists worked through the night to build new weapons. In military bases, soldiers trained for battles in space. In shipyards, workers began building a new kind of warship designed to fight aliens. The war for humanity's freedom had begun. Lieutenant Colonel Maria Santos gripped the controls of her fighter ship as she led 11 other pilots toward the edge of the solar system. Their mission was simple but dangerous. Test the alien quarantine and see if humanity's new weapons could really work. Stay close to me, Maria said into her radio. Remember, these aliens think we're stupid animals. Let's show them what stupid animals can do when they're angry. Behind her, Captain Rick Stone checked his weapon systems one more time. The new quantum disruptors looked just like regular missiles, but Dr. Susan Lee had spent months building them. If her theory was right, these weapons could punch through alien shields like they weren't even there. Contact ahead, called out Lieutenant Danny Walsh from his position at the front of the formation. 3 alien ships moving to intercept us. Maria saw them on her screen. The alien ships were beautiful and terrible at the same time. They moved through space like dancers, smooth and graceful. Their hulls gleamed with that strange metal that seemed to shift colors in the light. "This is Zephyrian Patrol Leader Sektar," came a voice over the radio. The words were cold and mechanical. "Human vessels, you are violating the quarantine boundary. Turn back immediately or be destroyed." Maria smiled grimly. "This is Colonel Santos of the Earth Defense Force. We don't recognize your authority to keep us caged in our own solar system. Get out of our way." "You have been warned," the alien voice replied. Engaging hostile targets. The 3 alien ships moved faster than anything Maria had ever seen. In seconds, they were firing bright beams of energy at the human fighters. The humans scattered, using every trick they knew to avoid the deadly light. "They're faster than us," Rick called out as he rolled his ship to avoid another energy beam. "But they're not smarter than us." Maria had been thinking about this moment for months. The aliens had better technology, but they fought like machines. They followed patterns, used tactics that made sense for their advanced weapons. But humans had learned to fight dirty. "Formation Delta," she called out. "Let's show them what chaos looks like." The 12 human fighters suddenly broke apart, flying in completely random directions. They spun and twisted through space, using moves that made no sense, but made them impossible to target. The alien ships tried to follow, but they're perfect. Formation fell apart as they struggled to track the chaotic human movements. "Now," Maria shouted. All 12 fighters turned at once, firing their new quantum disruptors at the alien ships. The weapons looked like normal missiles, but when they hit the alien shields, something amazing happened. Instead of bouncing off, the missiles went right through. The first alien ship exploded in a ball of fire and twisted metal. The second ship tried to run, but Rick Stone was already behind it, his disruptors tearing through its hull. The third ship lasted a few seconds longer before Danny Walsh's missiles found their target. "Holy shit," Danny said over the radio. "It worked." It actually worked. Maria looked at the debris floating in space where the alien ships had been. These were the first alien vessels ever destroyed by human weapons. All fighters returned to base. "We need to report this." The flight back to Earth was quiet. Each pilot was thinking about what they had just done. They had killed aliens. They had started a war that could end with humanity's destruction. But they had also proven something important. Humans could fight back. When they landed at the secret base in Arizona, Maria found herself face to face with Admiral Lisa Carter and General Chris Davis. Both leaders looked tired but excited. "Tell me everything," Admiral Carter said. Maria described the battle, how the quantum disruptors had worked perfectly, how the alien ships had been caught off guard by human tactics. When she finished, the room was quiet. "3 ships, General Davis said slowly. "We destroyed 3 of their ships." "Yes, sir," Maria replied. "But, sir, there's something else. The way they fought. They were good, but they were predictable. They followed rules. They fought like they expected us to fight the same way." Admiral Carter nodded. "And we don't fight fair." "No, ma'am, we don't." The celebration was short-lived. Within hours, the aliens' response came. A massive fleet of 50 ships appeared at the edge of the solar system. They didn't send warnings or demands. They simply opened fire on the human colonies on Mars and the asteroid belt. The mining station on Ceres was destroyed in minutes. The research base on Europa lasted only slightly longer. Hundreds of humans died in the first few minutes of the alien counterattack. "They're sending a message," General Davis said as he watched the reports come in. "They're saying that for every one of their ships we destroy, they'll kill 100 of our people." But Admiral Carter was already planning the next move. "They think this is about numbers," she said. "They think they can scare us into surrendering by killing our people. They still don't understand what they're dealing with." She turned to Maria. "Colonel, I'm giving you command of the new stealth squadron. Your job is to hit them where they don't expect it." 2 weeks later, Maria led a team of 20 fighters on a mission deep into alien space. They had modified their ships with new technology that made them nearly invisible to alien sensors. Their target was a supply convoy bringing weapons to the alien fleet. The attack came at night, local time. The alien convoy was moving slowly through an asteroid field, confident that no human ship could find them so far from Earth. They were wrong. Maria's fighters swept in from all directions. At once, the aliens' escorts tried to protect the supply ships, but the humans were already among them, firing disruptors at point-blank range. In 10 minutes, the entire convoy was destroyed. That's for series, Maria said as she watched the alien ships. Earned dot, but the real victory came 3 days later. Commander Alex Wright and his team of computer experts had been working on something special. They had figured out how to hack into the alien communication network. "We're in," Alex announced too. "The command center. I can see their fleet positions, their supply lines, their communication protocols. They use quantum entanglement for instant communication across light years." Admiral Carter leaned over his shoulder. "Can you disrupt it?" "Better than that." Alex smiled. "I can feed them false information. Make them think we're attacking places we're not. Make them waste resources chasing ghosts." The next phase of the war began with confusion in the alien ranks. Human ships appeared to be everywhere, at once striking at targets across multiple star systems. The aliens sent fleets to intercept attacks that never came, while real human forces hit undefended targets. But the aliens were learning too. They began to adapt their tactics, to expect the unexpected from their human enemies. The war was escalating, and both sides knew that the real battle was just beginning. In the command center on Earth, President Kevin Hayes received daily reports on the war's progress. The news was mixed. Humans were winning some battles, but the cost was enormous. Every victory came with a price in human lives. "How long can we keep this up?" he asked Admiral Carter during one of their late-night briefings. "As long as it takes," she replied. "The aliens still think this is about technology and firepower. They don't understand that we're fighting for something they can't comprehend." "What's that?" "Freedom," Carter said simply. "The right to reach for the stars. The right to be more than what others think we can be. That's worth any price." Outside the window, the night sky was filled with stars. Stars that had been forbidden to humanity just months ago. Stars that humans were now fighting to reach, no matter the cost. The war was far from over, but humanity had drawn first blood. They had proven that even the mightiest galactic empire could bleed. Commodore Jake Morrison stood in the docking bay of the alien space station, trying not to show how nervous he was. The station belonged to the Korath, a warrior race that had been forced to serve the Galactic Coalition for over a century. Getting here had taken months of secret planning and dangerous travel through enemy territory. The Korath who met him was huge, almost 8 feet tall, with gray skin covered in scars from old battles. His 4 arms were crossed as he looked down at Jake with glowing red eyes. "I am War Chief Gartok," the alien said in a voice like grinding stone. "You are the human who refuses to surrender." "I am," Jake replied, keeping his voice steady. "I come to offer an alliance." Gartok made a sound that might have been laughter. "Alliance? Between humans and Korath? A coalition would destroy both our species." "The coalition is already trying to destroy us," Jake said. "The question is whether we die on our knees or fighting on our feet." The Korath leader studied Jake for a long moment. Around them, other Korath warriors watched silently. Jake could feel their eyes on him, judging whether this small human was worth their time. "Come," Gartok said finally. "We will speak in private." They walked through corridors filled with weapons and battle trophies. The Korath were clearly a people who understood war. Their station was more like a fortress and a civilian outpost. "The Zephyrians took our homeworld 50 years ago," Gartok said as they walked. "They said we were too violent, too primitive. They forced us to serve in their fleets, to fight their battles. We have been slaves ever since." "But you're still warriors," Jake said. "I can see it in your eyes. You haven't given up." "No," Gartok agreed. "We have waited for a chance to strike back. But we are few, and they are many." "What can humans offer us that we do not already know?" Jake smiled. "We can offer you something the Zephyrians never expected. We can offer you hope." In the war room, Jake spread out star charts showing the recent battles. He pointed to the victories where human forces had destroyed alien fleets using new tactics and weapons. "This is how we beat them at Proxima," he said. "And here's how we took out their supply convoys in the Vega system. We don't fight fair, and we don't follow their rules." Gartok leaned over the charts, studying the human battle plans. "Clever," he admitted. "But you are still outnumbered 1,000 to 1. Not if we're not alone," Jake said. "The Coalition has enemies, races they've conquered or enslaved. If we can unite them, we can win." "The Verdani," Gartok said thoughtfully. "Plant beings from the Kepler system. The Zephyrians strip-mined their world for rare minerals. The Verdani have no love for the Coalition." "What about the Delphians?" Jake asked. "The aquatic race from the water worlds? Forced to serve as living computers," Gartok said with disgust. "Their neural networks are used to calculate hyperspace jumps for the Coalition fleets. They are treated as tools, not people." Jake nodded. "Then we have our allies. The question is whether you're willing to fight alongside humans." Gartok was quiet for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was thoughtful. "In our culture, we have a saying, 'The enemy of my enemy is my brother in battle.' But there is more to it than that. We have watched your species fight. You are small, weak, short-lived. But you refuse to surrender, even when defeat is certain. Is that a yes?" Jake asked. "It is," Gartok replied. "But know this, human. If you betray us, if you prove to be false allies, the Korath will hunt you to the ends of the galaxy." "Understood," Jake said. "When do we begin?" The first joint operation took place 3 weeks later. Major Ashley Brooks led a combined force of human Marines and Korath warriors in an assault on a Coalition weapons depot in the Centauri system. The target was heavily defended, but the combination of human tactics and Korath strength proved devastating. Ashley watched as Korath warriors charged through enemy fire, their thick skin absorbing damage that would kill humans. At the same time, human soldiers used their smaller size to slip through the alien defenses and plant explosives in key locations. "Charges set," called out Sergeant Mike Turner over the radio. 30 seconds to detonation. The mixed force of humans and Korath fell back as the explosions tore through the depot. Months of Coalition weapons and supplies went up in flames. "Beautiful," said Gartok as he watched the destruction. "Your species may be small, but you think like warriors." The success at Centauri was just the beginning. Within weeks, other enslaved races began to join the growing rebellion. The Verdani provided intelligence about Coalition supply routes, using their connection to plant networks across the galaxy to gather information. The Delphians sabotaged Coalition navigation systems, causing entire fleets to become lost in hyperspace. But the Coalition's response was swift and terrible. They deployed their most feared weapons, the Void Seekers, ancient machine beings that had been created to destroy rebellious species. These mechanical killers were nearly indestructible, able to repair themselves and adapt to any weapon used against them. Captain Rick Stone led the first human squadron to encounter the Void Seekers near Jupiter. The battle was a disaster. The machines absorbed the quantum disruptors without damage, then counterattacked with weapons that tore through human shields like paper. "Fall back," Rick ordered as his squadron was torn apart. "All units, fall back to Earth." Only 4 of the 12 human fighters made it home. Rick's ship was badly damaged, and he was injured, but he brought back vital information about humanity's new enemy. "They learn," he told Admiral Carter from his hospital bed. "Every time we hit them with something, they adapt." By the end of the battle, our weapons were useless. Dr. Susan Lee studied the battle records and the damaged fighters. "They're using some kind of adaptive armor," she said. "Each time they're hit, their hull reconfigures to resist that type of damage." "So how do we fight them?" Admiral Carter asked. "We don't," Dr. Lee replied. "At least, not directly. But I have an idea." 2 weeks later, Commander Alex Wright led a team of hackers in the most dangerous mission of the war. Their target was a derelict Forerunner facility in the Rigel system, one of the ancient structures that the Coalition used to coordinate their fleets. The facility was guarded by a dozen Void Seekers, but Wright's team didn't plan to fight them. Instead, they used a new type of virus that Dr. Lee had developed. The virus was designed to infect the quantum communication network that connected all Coalition forces. "We're in," Alex announced as his team penetrated the facility's computer systems. "Uploading the virus now." The effect was immediate. Across the galaxy, Coalition fleets suddenly found themselves unable to communicate with each other. The Void Seekers, cut off from their controlling network, began to malfunction. But the real surprise came when the virus spread to the Void Seekers themselves. The machines, designed to be perfect killers, suddenly began to turn on their Zephyrian masters. The adaptive programming that made them so dangerous now worked against the Coalition. "It's working," Dr. Lee said as reports came in from across the galaxy. "The virus is spreading through their entire network. Their own weapons are turning against them." The tide of war was turning. What had begun as humanity's desperate fight for survival was becoming a galaxy-wide revolution. The Coalition's iron grip on the galaxy was beginning to crack dot in the command center on Earth. President Kevin Hayes watched the strategic displays with growing hope. Red markers showing Coalition forces were being replaced by green ones representing the rebellion. For the first time since the war began, it looked like humanity might actually win. "How long before they adapt?" he asked Admiral Carter. "Not long," she replied. "They'll find a way to purge the virus and rebuild their network. But it gives us a window. If we're going to strike at their heart, now is the time." President Hayes nodded. "Then let's end this war. For good." The final battle was coming, and humanity was ready to face it alongside their new allies. The stars that had once been forbidden were now within reach, and no force in the galaxy would take them away again. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the massive warship Humanity's Hope, watching the largest fleet in human history prepare for battle. 300 ships floated in formation around him. Some were human vessels, sleek and deadly with their new quantum weapons. Others belonged to their alien allies, the powerful Korath battleships, the graceful Verdani bioships, and the strange crystalline vessels of the Delphians. "All ships report ready for jump," called out Captain Jenny Adams from the communications. "Station. The target is the Kepler 442 system, the Coalition's central command." Jake nodded. This was it. The final battle that would decide whether humanity would be free to explore the galaxy or remain prisoners forever. 3 years of war had led to this moment. "Begin the jump," he ordered. Space twisted around the fleet as they entered hyperspace. In minutes, they would face the largest Coalition armada ever assembled. Intelligence reports said nearly 1,000 enemy ships were waiting for them. "Admiral," said Commander Pete Wilson, "are you sure about this?" "Those are impossible odds, even with our allies." Jake smiled grimly. "Commander, when have humans ever cared about impossible odds?" When they dropped out of hyperspace, the sight before them was terrifying. The Coalition fleet filled space like a cloud of deadly stars. Zephyrian crystal ships gleamed in the light of the system's sun. Hive-mind vessels moved in perfect formation, and scattered among them were the dreaded Void Seekers, their dark hulls absorbing light like hungry shadows. "Incoming transmission," Jenny announced. The main screen flickered to life, showing the cold face of Zarfik, the Zephyrian leader who had first rejected humanity years ago. "Humans," the crystal being said, "you have caused enough chaos. Surrender now, and we will grant you a quick death." Jake stepped forward. "Zarthik, I have a counteroffer. Surrender to us, and we'll let you live. The aliens' crystalline features showed something that might have been surprise. You are outnumbered 3-1. Your rebellion ends here. Maybe, Jake said. But you've forgotten something important about humans. We don't know when to quit. The transmission ended, and both fleets began to move toward each other. The first shots came from the coalition forces, bright beams of energy that lit up space. The human alliance fleet scattered, using the chaotic tactics that had served them well throughout the war. The battle was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human fighters swarmed around the massive coalition ships like angry insects. Korath battleships charged straight into the enemy formation, their warriors roaring battle cries as they fired everything they had. Verdani bioships moved like living things, growing new weapons and armor as they fought. But the Void Seekers were the real problem. The mechanical killers cut through the Alliance fleet like knives through paper. Every weapon used against them was analyzed and countered within minutes. Ship after ship fell to their adaptive attacks. "We're losing too many ships," reported Captain Adams. "The Void Seekers are tearing us apart." Jake watched his fleet die around him and knew they needed a miracle. That's when Dr. Susan Lee's voice came over the radio from the command ship's laboratory. "Admiral, I've got something," she said breathlessly. "A quantum virus I developed for the communication network. I think I can modify it to affect the Void Seekers directly." "How long do you need?" Jake asked as another human ship exploded. "On the screen, 10 minutes," she replied. "But I need you to get me close to one of them. Close enough to upload the virus directly." Jake looked at the nearest Void Seeker, a kilometer-long monster that was systematically destroying everything in its path. Getting close to that thing would be suicide. "I'll do it," he said. "Sir, no," Commander Wilson protested. "Send someone else. The fleet needs you." "The fleet needs this to work," Jake replied. "And I'm the best pilot we have." Jake climbed into a small fighter and launched from the Humanity's Hope. Behind him, the battle raged as his friends and allies died fighting for freedom. He pushed his ship to its limits, weaving between energy beams and missile explosions. The Void Seeker turned its attention to him as he approached. Weapons that could destroy battleships focused on his tiny fighter. Jake used every trick he knew, spinning and diving through space as death chased him. "Almost there," Dr. Lee said through the radio. "Just a few more seconds." A massive beam weapon grazed Jake's ship, tearing off half the hull. His controls sparked and smoke filled the cockpit, but he was close enough now. "Upload complete, Doctor," Lee announced. "The virus is in their system." Jake pulled back just as the Void Seeker exploded. But the virus was already spreading to every other mechanical killer in the fleet. One by one, the dreaded machines began to turn on their Zephyrian masters. "It's working," Captain Adams shouted over the radio. "The Void Seekers are attacking." Coalition ships, the tide of battle turned in minutes. With their most powerful weapons turned against them, the Coalition fleet began to fall apart. Ships tried to flee, but the Alliance forces were everywhere. The final moment came when Admiral Lisa Carter led a boarding party onto the Coalition command ship. Fighting alongside Korath warriors and human marines, she battled her way to the bridge where the Zephyrian High Council waited. "Your war is over," Carter said as her troops surrounded the crystal beings. "We will never surrender to primitives," Zarthik replied, raising a weapon. "Then you'll die like fools," said War Chief Gartuk, stepping beside Carter. The battle for the bridge was short and brutal. When it ended, the Coalition's leadership was dead or captured. Across the galaxy, their fleets received orders to surrender. But victory came with a terrible price. Half the human fleet was destroyed. Thousands of the galaxy's best people had died fighting for freedom. Earth itself bore scars from 3 years of war that would take decades to heal. President Kevin Hayes, now an old man worn down by years of conflict, addressed the galaxy from the ruins of the Coalition Command Center. Today, the quarantine is ended, he said. Today, every species in this galaxy is free to choose its own path among the stars. We didn't fight this war to become conquerors. We fought it to prove that freedom is a right that belongs to all thinking beings. The old coalition was dissolved, replaced by a new galactic federation based on equality and mutual respect. Species that had been enslaved for centuries were finally free. The Korath reclaimed their homeworld. The Verdani began to heal their damaged planet. The Delphians swam free in the oceans of a dozen worlds, and humanity took its place among the stars at last. 5 years later, Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of the newest Earthship, a massive explorer called Humanity's Dream. Through the windows, he could see alien children playing with human kids in the rebuilt space stations. Former enemies had become friends, united by their shared struggle for freedom. Was it worth it? Asked Captain Jenny Adams, who now served as his second dash and dash command. Jake thought about all the people who had died, all the ships that had been lost, all the pain and suffering the war had caused. Then he looked at a young human girl who was laughing as she played with a Korath child, both of them learning about each other's cultures. Yes, he said quietly, it was worth it. Freedom always is. The ship's engines hung to life as they prepared to explore the far reaches of the galaxy. The stars that had once been forbidden to humanity now beckoned with infinite possibilities. The war was over, but humanity's greatest adventure was just beginning. In the end, the aliens had been wrong about humans. They weren't just violent animals. They were something far more dangerous. They were beings who would never stop fighting for the right to be free.